The story begins in a dark and messy apartment. There are trash bags all over the place, making it hard to walk around. The windows are so dirty that barely any light comes through. Old calendar pages are taped to the wall to help keep track of the date. A young boy named Etsuro Kurosu lives in this apartment. He has been struggling with a severe social withdrawal and depression after he was unable to get admission into a university. He has cut off every single person in his life, including his parents. Etsuro believes his existence is meaningless. Nothing new ever happens in his life and that everything has lost its charm. One day he's lying on his bed recalling the digits of pi when he decides to commit the unthinkable. He wraps a belt around his neck and ties the other end on a shelf. Just when he lets his body hang, he starts struggling. This causes the shelf to break off the wall and fall down on top of him. Etsuro catches his breath when he notices a beam of light entering the room. Turns out, the broken shelf has left a small hole in the wall that opens into the apartment next door. He peeks through the hole to see his beautiful neighbor, Ryo Miyaichi. Etsuro is mesmerized by her beauty as he continues staring at her, enjoying her meal. On Ryo's side, the hole is quite unnoticeable since it opens into a bookshelf. Following that day, Etsuro starts observing Ryo's everyday life. He's still surprised about the fact that a pretty girl like Ryo lives right next to him. The next day, Ryo heads out carrying a bag and some books. Seeing this, Etsuro assumes she's a student. He eats the last of his food that consists of a few cheap snacks. Bored and curious, he spends the whole day watching Ryo. Noticing that she only leaves the house to attend classes and never seems to meet anyone, Etsuro figures she doesn't have any friends. One day, while Etsuro is snooping, Ryo suddenly disappears. In a desperate attempt to find out where she is, Etsuro steps out of his apartment for the first time in a while. He goes over to her door and tries to listen to any sounds. Just when he's trying to peek through the mail slot, he notices a girl downstairs noticing his creepy behavior. The girl, Haruko Kawasaki, came to check on her brother who lives in the apartment below Etsuro's. Just then, Etsuro smells some delicious food. Turns out, Haruko brought food for her brother, but after getting no response, she leaves the food hanging on the doorknob and walks away. Etsuro takes the chance to steal the bag, hoping to eat some real food. He opens the bag and takes a few bites before he's interrupted once again. This time, Ryo herself is staring down at his creepy behavior. After a brief introduction, Ryo finds out that Etsuro is her neighbor. She then invites him for lunch at her apartment. Etsuro quickly agrees. So while Ryo is preparing the food, Etsuro looks around her apartment when he finds the hole in the wall. Just then, Ryo enters and mentions Etsuro's stretchy trouser strings. After that, they enjoy a delicious home-cooked meal together. Etsuro heads back to his place in a surprisingly good mood after Ryo tells him they should hang out again sometime. Ever since that day, Etsuro starts visiting Ryo more often for meals, despite the fact that he's still secretly watching her. One day he finally gathers the courage to ask her why she wants to spend time with someone like him. Etsuro reveals how he has quit his prep school, and he doesn't have a job either. Ryo mentions how quickly they have formed a connection over a short span of time, and that means a lot to her. Her words touch Etsuro deeply. After quickly finishing his food, Etsuro rushes back to his apartment. He decides to stop watching Ryo and gently covers up the hole in the wall with a piece of paper and a thumbtack. A thunderstorm hits that night. Etsuro sits alone in his room, desperately trying to come up with a reason to remove the paper. Just then, he hears Ryo's door open in the middle of the night. He quickly removes the paper only to see Ryo enter her room. She's wearing a transparent raincoat and holding a cutter. Moments later, a suited man follows her in. Just when he hugs Ryo from behind, she quickly attacks him with her fast, martial arts moves. She slits the man's throat and brutally kills him. With blood splashed all over her raincoat, she smiles cunningly. Seeing this, Etsuro is terrified. In his panic, he accidentally knocks against the wall. Just then, a book falls over Ryo's shelf and blocks Etsuro's view. Soon, a mysterious van shows up with a couple of men taking boxes up to Ryo's apartment. Back in his room, Etsuro appears confused as he's trying to figure out the strange events he saw. Moments later, he hears a knock on his door. It's Ryo, dressed cutely and looking all normal. She's holding a pot of food in her hand. With a big smile on her face, she asks Etsuro if they can eat in his apartment every now and then. After clearing out some space and lighting up a few candles, they set up the table. Ryo is calm and composed as she eats her food. On the contrary, Etsuro is still unable to wrap his head around the fact that Ryo just killed somebody. While eating, Ryo brings up Etsuro's question and asks him not to get anxious. She talks about how after being alone for a long time, she starts questioning their sanity. However, being around Etsuro makes her feel normal. Once Ryo is gone, Etsuro uses a chopstick to knock over the book that was blocking his view to the room. He looks around the room and finds Ryo enjoying some tea. Seeing how everything looks normal, he He assumes he must be hallucinating and that none of last night's events actually happened. Moments later, a voice tells Ryo goodbye. Etsuro rushes to his door to see who the person is. Just then, a mysterious woman named Reina Meiji passes by his door. When she looks back to see Etsuro standing in his door, he quickly shuts it. She calls Etsuro by his name and stops for a brief moment before leaving. The next morning, Ryo runs into Etsuro on her way to university. She offers him to use her washing machine to wash his clothes before asking him to eat at his place again. While washing his clothes, Etsuro recalls the murder scene. However, his admiration for Ryo misleads him once again. Looking forward to eating together, Etsuro rushes home, cleans up, and sets the table. Later that night, while he's waiting for Ryo to come over, Etsuro hears the door opening at her apartment. He looks through the hole only to find Ryo killing another man with a bee tattoo on his arm. Just like before, she's wearing the raincoat. Using her kung fu skills, she slits the man's throat before smiling cunningly. Etsuro quickly realizes that it's not a hallucination. Ryo is actually bringing men to her house and killing them. Shocked, Etsuro screams, which makes Ryo notice the hole. She sticks her box cutter through it before looking directly at him through the hole. Terrified, Etsuro runs out of the apartment and Ryo chases after him through the streets with the cutter in hand. Using the emergency exit, he reaches the rooftop of a building. However, Ryo quickly catches up and traps him there. She asks him if she saw her kill the man. Etsuro admits he's been watching her for some time and that he already knew that she was a killer. She finds it interesting that even though he knew she was a killer, he still came over to eat with her. After that, Ryo walks up to Etsuro to kill him. However, Etsuro explains that he once tried to end his life by hanging himself. That's when he found the hole in the wall and saw her. He immediately fell in love with her and he realized being with her felt better than dying. After finding out that Ryo indeed is a killer, Etsuro once again becomes hopeless. He drops to his knees and closes his eyes, ready for her to kill him. Surprised by Etsuro's thoughts, Ryo walks up to him with the cutter. She grabs him and puts the cutter to his neck. Fascinated by how Etsuro has no reaction at all, she doesn't kill him. Upon being asked how he feels right now, Etsuro claims he wants to date her. Surprisingly, Ryo agrees before she proceeds to lick the blood off a bruise on Etsuro's lip that he got while running away from her. Just when Etsuro is about to kiss her, she stops him and asks him to continue spying on her. The next day, Haruko finally gets to meet her brother, Kawasaki, who's happily playing with a cat. She urges her brother to stay in contact with them since their parents have been worried about him. After giving him the food that she has brought, she notices Etsuro on the terrace and greets him. Later, Etsuro is washing his clothes using Ryo's washing machine. After that, the two of them have lunch at his place. Ryo is surprised at how clearly Etsuro could see through the hole in the wall. Etsuro apologizes to her and promises to patch the hole, but Ryo stops him. Etsuro is unable to believe how he's dating such a pretty girl like Ryo. After that, Etsuro tells Ryo that he likes everything about her, leaving her a little embarrassed. He promises to get a job so he can be a better boyfriend. Etsuro ends up working at a convenience store, but every time he uses a box cutter, he can't help but think about Ryo brutally killing those men. Despite that, he continues dating her. Later that night, Etsuro comes home and sees Ryo waiting for him by the hole, but Etsuro feels it would be better if they were together in the same room. However, Ryo believes they should not be in the same room at night now that they are dating. After that, Ryo asks him to accompany her to university the next day. Turns out she just wanted him to carry her microwave to the university because the one in her lab stopped working. After being isolated for so long, Etsuro feels self-conscious being around so many people. Just being at the university is triggering his complexes. However, he gets over it when Ryo proudly introduces him as her boyfriend in front of her class, fellows, and friends. During lunch, he lovingly looks at Ryo, thinking he's the first guy she had ever dated. After that, he tells her about his plan to retake the entrance exam next year. He wants to become a better person for her, someone who deserves to be with her because he can't imagine a future without her. Ryo just laughs, amused by the idea that he thinks he needs to be good enough for someone like her. She reminds him that she's a murderer who has no intention of stopping. She proceeds to tell him that she has been doing it for a while now. Later, after class, Ryo asks Etsuro if he's hungry. On their way to the restaurant, everything seems normal. Just then, Ryo stops and puts on her clear raincoat. She then grabs a woman right there on the street and kills her while spraying her blood all over the wall. Shocked, Etsuro turns his face away when Ryo asks him if he's okay. Following that, Ryo openly starts killing people in front of Etsuro. During their dates, Ryo would grab any person she wanted and slit their throat right in the middle of the street. At this point, Etsuro begins to wonder if she picks her victims randomly, but she admits she follows her own twisted set of rules and even keeps a list of local criminals. Seeing how Ryo is killing mostly criminals, Etsuro asks Ryo if he can see her as some kind of ally of justice. The two laugh about it as Ryo continues killing people, but Etsuro quickly realizes that it just doesn't feel right seeing her kill people like that. At work, Etsuro is surprised to see that none of her victims are ever reported or discussed in the news. That afternoon, on his way back from work, Etsuro runs into his neighbor Kawasaki. The two talk about how cute cats are. After that, Etsuro heads over to meet Ryo at the park. Every time he looks at her, he can't help but think how Ryo keeps killing people. The only thing keeping him in this relationship is Ryo's cuteness. At the park, they share a chocolate and coffee ice cream that Etsuro brought with him. Ryo is touched that he bought something just for the two of them. Etsuro's life slowly starts to get better. Now that he's working and has a steady income, he decides to buy a new phone for himself. One day, while working at the cash register, Haruko stops by to buy some snacks. Etsuro gives them to her for free, feeling guilty about the bag of food he stole from her earlier. Later that night, Etsuro heads home to find that his apartment's electricity has been restored. Excited, he greets Ryo, but gets no response. He looks through the hole only to find a note asking him to stay in his room at 10 p.m. After taking a shower, Etsuro gets ready for bed when he looks through the hole when he finds Kawasaki lying on Ryo's bed all tied up. Turns out, Ryo has kidnapped Kawasaki. Unable to understand why, Etsuro begs Ryo not to kill him. However, she asks him to stay quiet so they don't get caught. Etsuro reminds her that murder is a crime and that she shouldn't kill an innocent person like Kawasaki. Ryo refuses to listen to him and proceeds to kill their neighbor. Etsuro is heartbroken seeing Ryo kill Kawasaki. Right after that, Reina and her team show up in a black van and clean up the entire crime scene, which explains why no one has found out about all the murders. Etsuro goes to Ryo's apartment demanding answers. Reina insults him before asking him if he's brave or just stupid. After that, Reina explains that Ryo is a skilled killer who does it fast and clean. Her team is just here to collect the body and clean up the site. She asks her team to chop up Kawasaki's body since he's already in bad shape. Reina asks Etsuro if he finds it odd that Ryo hasn't been caught yet, despite killing so many people. Reina further explains that there are people out there who need fresh bodies. Upon asking about Ryo's whereabouts, Reina reveals that she must be out to eat considering she gets hungry after killing people. As she is about to leave, Etsuro stops her to ask why Ryo would kill an innocent person like Kawasaki. So Reina takes him to Kawasaki's apartment and shows him how all this time, Kawasaki had been torturing the stray cats he pretended to care for. Reina is unable to understand Etsuro's reaction. She informs that he's also going to end up dead, since it's impossible for Ryo to interact with people for any other purpose. The next morning, Ryo knocks on his door, but he doesn't answer. In a desperate attempt to see him, she jumps from her balcony to his and comes inside. Etsuro tells her he's not feeling well and stays in bed. She lies down next to him to help him stay warm. He proceeds to tell Ryo that killing people is wrong. In response, Ryo asks him if he's overreacting because she killed someone he knew. Etsuro tells her that he has no pity for Kawasaki, but there should be rules. Ryo asks him if he believes some people can be killed and some not. She proceeds to ask him who really gets to decide who lives and who dies. She points out that every country has different rules, and they change all the time, so true justice doesn't really exist. Etsuro takes this opportunity to inform her that he doesn't want to see her killing people. This upsets Ryo, and she quickly leaves his apartment. At this point, Etsuro admits he still likes her no matter what. The next morning, Etsuro runs into Haruko. She asks if he's heard from her brother lately. Etsuro tries to come up with an excuse to leave, but all she wants to know is if he's been going to university since he hasn't called or visited them in some time. That's when Ryo shows up, clearly jealous. She asks Etsuro who he is talking to. Haruko politely introduces herself before mentioning that her older brother lives in this building. Hearing this, Ryo invites her to wait for him at her apartment, but Etsuro panics and quickly sends Haruko away, promising to contact her if he hears anything from Kawasaki. Later, while eating dinner with Ryo, Etsuro can't help but worry about the fact that Haruko might come back and find out the truth. But seeing Ryo calm about the situation scares him even more. He asks Ryo if she's planning to kill Haruko as well. That's when Ryo reminds him of her rules. If she starts killing people like that, it puts her character in question. So she promises Etsuro that she won't harm Haruko. A few days later, Haruko texts Etsuro and asks if they can meet to talk about her brother. While Etsuro is still deciding whether to say yes or no, someone suddenly grabs him and pulls him into a black van. Turns out it's Reina. She warns Itsuro to become someone worthy of Ryo, or she'll kill him. Itsuro mentions how Kawasaki's sister is looking for him. Reina asks him not to worry. Before leaving, she tells Itsuro that he's useless as a person alive but could make a great dead body. Later that day, Itsuro meets Haruko for tea. She's desperate to find out what happened to her brother. Itsuro asks if she has filed a missing person report. Haruko reveals she has in fact retracted the report considering Kawasaki might have gone on a trip. She asks Itsuro to go with her to see the landlord because she's too scared to go alone. Itsuro doesn't want to go, but he agrees so that she doesn't get suspicious. Together, they ask the landlord to open Kawasaki's apartment. To Itsuro's surprise, Reina's team already cleaned everything up. They got rid of all the tools Kawasaki used to hurt the cats. They even placed a fake airplane ticket on the table to make it seem like Kawasaki has gone on a trip. After that, Haruko takes a walk with Itsuro. She still appears worried about her brother, but Itsuro reassures her that he must be fine. She apologizes to Itsuro for bothering her. Before leaving, Itsuro asks her to inform him about any updates. However, she replies that she won't because she doesn't want piss off Ryo, his girlfriend. Itsuro admits that even though he's dating Ryo, he doesn't really know her that well and that she can be a little twisted. Later that night, Itsuro sees a man with the same B tattoo as Ryo's earlier victim. The man puts his arm around Ryo, and to Itsuro's surprise, she doesn't push him away. Later at dinner, Itsuro brings it up and asks Ryo who that guy was. Instead of answering, she replies that being a university student, she can meet anyone she wants. Suspecting Ryo, Itsuro asks if she's going to dump him. Just then, she accuses him of spending time with Haruko. Itsuro denies her claims and reveals that he only talked to Haruko to protect her. Ryo mentions how Reina covered her track, yet he's drooling around Haruko. Itsuro suspects Ryo is up to something, so he confronts her. This makes her mad, so she leaves the room before asking him to cut off Haruko. After that, Itsuro hugs her, but when he leans in to kiss her, she threatens to kill him. Later that night, Ryo meets the B-Gang and tells them that she's rejecting their offer to be their personal killer. Angry, the leader reminds her that they know she killed one of their members. He asserts that she is now a part of their cleanup crew, and if she refuses to do the job or goes to the police, they will kill Itsuro. The next day, Ryo is waiting outside Itsuro's work to walk him home. At home, they find Haruko waiting outside, so they invite her in. The three of them are having tea when Haruko shows them a postcard by Kawasaki, faked by Reina to cover up the truth. Haruko is worried about what she's going to say to their parents. Stressing about Kawasaki not answering her phone, Haruko suddenly passes out. Turns out, Ryo drugged her tea and plans to kill her. Itsuro tries to stop her by reminding her that she doesn't kill people to keep them quiet, but Ryo claims she makes her own rules. Itsuro is worried that if she keeps slaughtering people like this, the police will find out. She threatens to kill Itsuro by slitting his artery until he bleeds out, but because of Itsuro's persistence, she eventually backs off. When Haruko wakes up, she confesses her feelings for Itsuro. Their moment is cut short when Reina's team arrives expecting to find Haruko dead. As Haruko leaves, Reina warns Itsuro not to confuse Ryo. She mentions how this is the first time Ryo hasn't killed someone that she wanted. Claiming Ryo will never truly connect with him, Reina threatens Itsuro to leave her alone. Later, Ryo meets Reina and apologizes for not going through with killing Haruko. Ryo shares an ice cream with her when Reina reminds her that she is the one who gets to decide who lives or dies. But if she hesitates, the bodies won't be clean, so Reina won't be able to use them. Meanwhile, Itsuro meets Haruko at a cafe. She tells him her feelings for him are real. However, Itsuro gently turns her down, claiming he was only trying to help with her brother. Haruko appears confused because Itsuro once mentioned that Ryo isn't right for him. She thinks Itsuro is just getting dragged around, and that won't ever change. Before leaving, she tells Itsuro she'll be at the cafe again tomorrow if he wants to give her a chance. On his way home, a black van pulls up. Itsuro believes it's Reina once again, but turns out it's the B-Gang. They kidnap him and take him to their bar, asking him to convince Ryo to kill for them. Itsuro refuses to do what they want, so they threaten to go to the police before they slit his cheek and let him go. When Itsuro arrives home, Ryo sees the cut on his face and tries to go after the gang, but he stops her. He tells her he'd rather let them hurt him than see her kill again. Ryo reminds him that killing is part of who she is, and she doesn't feel like herself without it. But Itsuro points out that she didn't kill Haruko, which means she can change if she wants to. He confesses how much he likes her, but Ryo feels he doesn't truly understand or accept her. She doesn't believe they have a future together and leaves in tears, asking him to cover up the hole. Later that night, while Itsuro is working at the convenience store, Reina stops by to buy an ice cream. She tells him Ryo has asked for a major cleanup soon. Itsuro still struggles with accepting all the killing, but Reina claims what they have is a rare bond no one can break. That night, Etsuro hears strange sounds coming from Ryo's apartment. He rushes to look through the hole only to find Ryo killing another person, with the difference that this time, she doesn't smile after killing. Instead, she's crying. This makes him believe that the B-gang must have forced her to kill this person. At that moment, Etsuro has a wild realization. Ryo might not change or need him, but he can't deny the fact that he needs her. After calling Haruko to inform her he can't meet up, he goes straight to the B-gang's bar. Etsuro begs them to stop Ryo from killing, but when they don't listen, he pulls out a cutter and tries to fight them. Certainly, he's no match for the whole gang and they quickly overpower him. The gang throws him to the ground and starts beating him up. That's when the gang leader grabs him and tries to cut his neck the same way Ryo does. Just then, the power cuts out and sleeping gas fills the room. As everyone starts passing out, Ryo shows up in her transparent raincoat. She's initially surprised to see Etsuro there, but when she notices he's hurt, she gets furious. She grabs his cutter and, using it along with her own, takes down all the gangsters. Ryo kills the gang leader before helping an injured Etsuro onto the couch. She explains to him how she didn't enjoy the kill this time, but that doesn't mean she'll stop. After confessing their love for each other, they kiss. Just then, Ryo stabs him. She smiles, saying she always wanted to kill someone she liked, but quickly realizes that it doesn't feel the way she expected. Etsuro is oddly happy to hear that. They express their love for one another before Etsuro collapses. Several days later, Reina sees Ryo with a suitcase, while Etsuro follows her on crutches. They agree to have their old apartment cleaned, and Reina jokes he shouldn't stop spying on her just because they're moving in together. As they walk off together, Ryo tells Etsuro she won't kill anyone else, but someday she will kill him. Etsuro smiles and says, "That's fine, because his artery belongs only to her." Then she pauses, realizing they never even learned each other's first names. They laugh as they finally introduce themselves properly. The movie ends as they shake hands like it's the start of something new.